Hello, Kaitlyn. Welcome to the Make Life Rich movement.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I wanted to spring this on you because it is the very first time that I remember meeting you, and I wonder if you'll remember this, but probably not, considering where we were. It was 2008. We were in, I know, I'm taking it back.
That
We
is.
were in Tennessee.
Oh my gosh, at Bonnaroo?
hmm Yes, Gunner
Most
still, your husband.
miserable time of my life.
Oh my God, was it?
Because I was pregnant.
Were you?
Yeah, I was only like 3 months, 4 months pregnant, and I was sick the entire time.
Oh
And
my God, you badass. Wow. It's so funny. I took my dad and he and I were walking and we were like traipsing across the field and I'm like, that's Gunner, her husband. I'm like, oh my God, that's Gunner. I know someone
you
here.
couldn't miss him back in the day with his dreads
The
and
dreads. And I ran over and then you were right there and I was like, oh my God, hi.
yeah, I was probably not the nicest.
No, it was so freaking hot. I didn't realize you were
Yeah.
pregnant. Holy
Yeah.
poop.
Yeah, and we say that that's why Finley is the way that she is because she went to Bonnaroo and she went to all these
Yeah.
different places when
She
she's.
got it in. She got to hear Kanye 2 a.m. in your belly. That's so
Hmm.
fun. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Well, that's where we met. And I knew right out the gate for you to be there. You were the coolest ever, which made me so happy because your husband Gunnar is one of the sweetest men
Yes.
ever. And you're just so blessed. So that's a long roundabout way of saying how we met each other. But I've been following your career so closely. I really am just so impressed and enamored with your realty company that you've recently launched. And I
Mhm.
would just love to know how that came about for you. Were you a realtor before you started? What led you to your current career path?
So I guess have to throw it kind of far back. But so Gunnar and I started renovating houses like 10 years ago. So we we had a daughter who had cancer, our oldest daughter. So she was diagnosed with cancer. He was working away all of the time. He was doing like solar and some different stuff. Then he got into commercial fishing. But we always had this desire to renovate houses, get into real estate, that whole thing. But I was kind of tied down because my daughter was sick. We had two toddlers at that period of time. So once we got out of like that season in our lives, we were like, we need to do something like in the direction of where we want to go.
Yeah.
So we ended up doing a couple of like live-in flips where we were living in them and kind of doing the work slowly while he was doing other work. And then a couple of years went by and I was like, I should probably get my real estate license. So I ended up, so actually real estate was getting my actual license was almost like a second thought, I guess. So
hmm
that was maybe 6 years ago. So I worked as an agent for a little bit. We started Sea Haven Homes, which is our contracting company. Started really getting into like the renovations, owning rentals, and such. And then I was like, maybe I should get my broker's license. Maybe I should be selling my own real estate. So that's really how we got into it. And then in 2022, we opened Sea Haven Real Estate. So we are an independent brokerage. We're not affiliated with anyone. I'm the sole owner, and
hmm
I think we're up to. So I'm the broker. Gunnar, my husband, is an agent, and then we have six other agents right now. Yeah.
Holy crap,
Hmm.
killing it. That's so awesome. And I love that it came pretty organically. It seems like it was just like the next thing you should do to keep elevating and evolving what you were already doing.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, in a sense, I think it was a pretty ballsy move, like the real estate brokerage part of it. There's a lot of liability when it comes to like being the broker and the owner. But with that said, I think we gained a lot of confidence in the in Sea Haven Homes in our construction and contracting and design work that we were doing. So we're getting used to like handling a lot more money, bigger transactions, things like that, and
Mhm.
it really I think gave us the confidence to be like, okay, we don't know exactly what we're doing, but this is the next step. And the best advice I think that I got was I was talking to someone about it who was a very seasoned real estate agent who was very encouraging of me, which is hard to find. And she was like, Katie, she's like, you're either going to do it now or you're going to wish you did it, 10 years from now. So she was like, why not just do it now? And I was like, okay, we did it.
I
So,
love that.
yeah.
It is, I knew you were independent. I didn't realize it was a thing where there's like affiliations, but it certainly makes sense.
Mhm.
I always assumed your realty was completely independent of anybody else, but to hear you say it does kind of ring home how much of a endeavor this was for you to take on. Like you're not having some big daddy real estate firm like take the liability for you and kind of deal with all the ins and outs of that.
Yeah.
So what was that mental preparation like for you when you kind of realized like, holy fuck, all right, we're going in?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I would be lying if I said that there weren't like, and there still is. I mean, but it's kind of lessening now that we kind of have our feet under us a little bit. But I would wake up at like 1 in the morning and I'd be like, what did I just do? Like, what did I just do to my family? What did I just do to, because it was a big investment. We had flipped. That's actually kind of a cool thing, I guess, to talk about too. We had flipped a couple of like larger homes, like really like over 3,000 square foot, like very profitable properties that we had renovated. And we took that money and that's how we started our brokerage. So we don't have any partners. We don't have any, it's like our brokerage that we own. And I think that kind of like there's good in that because you're not in debt to anyone and you don't have to answer to anyone as far as like, oh, I didn't hit my numbers this year and that affects someone else. So I think there's a little less pressure. But that knowing that we stepped into that and that like I was the one, because Gunnar is more of the contracting side. He's not really like the real estate side of things. So really it was all on my shoulders. So there was definitely a lot, many, many, many moments where I was just like, I have no idea like what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I care so much about the people that I'm working with. So there was always this mental, like, I want to make sure I'm doing everything the right way. But I mean, it's just like anything else I think that you do in life. It's like you have your moment and then you're like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take this day as it comes and I'm going to do the best that I can do. And I'm just going to keep moving forward. And I can say like 2 years into it, I feel like we're definitely like hitting a stride, I guess you could say, where
Oh,
a lot more confidence.
wow. And it seems that way. It really does. You came out the gate hot when you opened your realty company. And I think I do remember there being um, a lot of just really positive talk about it. I think people were really impressed that you went out on your own. It is,
Mm-hmm.
we live in the number one beach resort area in America, and there are so many realtors that are here, but they're all kind of connected, it seems. And I think you really shook the pot down here to let people know that there's new blood in town, there's new ways to go about doing things. And it's been really, I don't know too much about real estate. I don't know too much about flipping, but I am aware of the industry trends and how things are going. And it's been so refreshing to see a new take on a very old industry where we are from. It's been really
Yeah.
cool to see like a Chip and Johanna Gaines like approach to, just hospitality and merging that with real estate in a way that I think has been, at least for me, really fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
You have a number of your own rental properties as well. What when you were creating these flips, were you keeping any of them for seasonal rentals or were they just for an immediate changeover for sale?
So we have multiple rentals. So we do have some year-round rentals that are really important for us to keep. That's really hard down here, finding year-round rentals. So we have a couple of those. But the way that we entered into those was that we bought kind of dilapidated properties for undervalue, and then we went in and did the work to them, and to increase the value. And then we have properties that are seasonal as well. So we have Airbnbs, short-term rentals, like along the Delaware Bay. We have a few of them. We have one we're working on now. So they've been amazing. I think for me, those are like fun projects for us. So all of them that we've done, we've purchased them and renovated them. So we haven't just bought one and kind of just put furniture in it. So we've been able to really use our creativity. My husband, he's super creative. A lot of people don't know this, but he actually has a degree in what he does. He's not just self-taught. So he has an interior design degree, and he has the contracting license and stuff. So it's really fun to be able to have that like collaboration between us, because we're both very creative people, and I'm in an industry that's very like black and white, I guess, and there's not so much room for creativity, I think, in the real estate broker part of it. So the rentals for us, I would say, are just fun. It's fun to be able to like create a space for people and then have them come in and it kind of be like the backdrop of their fun memories. And we've got a lot of satisfaction out of that.
Yeah, it's been really beautiful to watch your behind the scenes videos. I'll link in the show notes your Instagram and everything so everyone can kind of keep up with what you guys are doing. But it's been so fun to watch you and Gunnar just like mapping out what you want to fix, and like you can see the both of you are just so honed in. It's really special to watch from many viewpoints, but as someone that works with her husband, it's just nice to be able to see a couple working together in something they're passionate about that is so successful for them and has in essence changed your family's life, at least giving you the freedom to be able to live the life that you're living. What does it feel like to have your daughters being able to almost be a part of it? I'm sure they are your helpers when you're staging and doing all these things. So what does that feel like to have your crew in tow and watching and helping?
Well, I mean, my two older, I have a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old. So I have two teenage daughters. So they're savages most of the time. Kindest, nicest, sweetest. But if you ever want to like be humbled, have two teenage daughters. So, but no, they're really cool. I think that they get like, so they're teenagers. So they're like, Mom, this is so boring, and I'm always like, you guys should get into real estate. You should do this. You should do that. And they're like, this is so boring. I'm like, wait one day till you see the financials and then you won't think it's that boring. But I think that they love the fact that Gunnar and I work together. I think that they really appreciate like that we own our own businesses, and like they're so understanding. They've also had a very interesting life, too, up until this point. They've lived out of the country. They've gone, they've done all of these different things that I think give them a good perspective. So I think that they see how hard we work and they have like a respect for that. So they're always willing to, like I always say, we couldn't do it without each of us, if that makes sense. Like they're always helping us with the baby. We call her the baby, but she's 3. They're always helping us with her. They're always willing to like pitch in. Finley's my little, cleaner in the summer. That's how she makes her money. So I do think that they appreciate it as much as they can, as teenagers. Your parents are always somewhat lame, when you're a teenager. So
I'm sure they will 100% have that moment where they turn around and they're like, oh, holy shit, we were like helping to build an empire. Like, wow, okay.
I have photos of them, like not as much anymore because they all, have their own life, but I have so many photos of them in the earlier days where Gunnar, so my husband, he was a commercial fisherman for a while too. And he would come in. So I would be like managing the renovations, and then he would come in and get right to work. And a lot of times it was like after work, or we'd be there till midnight. And we have pictures of them like with blankets spread out and like a pizza, and they're doing their homework because that was the only time that we could fit it in. But
yeah, I love that. It's so special. And it really does show the dedication that you guys have had both separately and as a family to make this work. And now you're really, it seems starting to get that stride to where you're able to add more things and
Mhm.
expand. And like it wouldn't have come without those earlier years and
No.
them being included as well. It's so special.
Yeah. I think people underestimate that a little bit. I think that I'm really big on that with my agents. I have a lot of newer agents, and I'm always like, you can't compare your like day one, week one, year one to someone's year 10. And I think that people can kind of see the stuff that we put out now, like on social media and stuff, and they're like, oh my gosh, but I'm like, you don't see the days in the very, very beginning where we were like, ah, you know.
Hmm. Especially because you guys started before Instagram was a thing you would have shared any of this on.
Yeah.
I can remember very clearly. I know Gunner's family business is construction. I know he grew up in that field. He
Yeah.
and his brother is doing the same thing now. But I wonder, was there a moment for you where you're like, holy crap, I have to play a little bit of catch up here because I don't have this same amount of construction experience? Or was it something you were kind of just able to pick up as you went? Or do you have construction experience as well, like Gunnar
I
did?
I think that it would be more like the business aspect of it. So like I think that we were always confident in the like construction aspect of it. So we have Gunnar and his family, and that was his background. I grew up very much. I grew up in a commercial fishing family, but they were business owners as well. So there was always like something going on. My dad was very hands on as far as bringing us along and making us know how to do things as girls.
Mhm.
There's 4 girls in my family. So he was very big on like, you need to know how to do this for yourself. So we always had farms and things. And, you know, I was like, knew how to drive a tractor when I was like 9. So like, I think that that kind of came naturally as far as having the confidence. Like, we would be looking at houses, and my dad would maybe come along and he'd be like, no, you need to look in the crawl space and you need to understand what this is. So that was helpful. I would say the business part of it, like actually running it like a business and the financial aspect, I think was the learning curve for us. And now we've learned a lot in that area.
Yeah, it does seem like it would be maybe the trickiest part, especially if you have the wherewithal to use your hands and create something.
Hmm.
It's often I think people think about that being like, "Ooh, okay, this is going to be the hardest part." But then you forget about all the red tape and the paperwork and you're like,
Hmm.
"Fuck, I have to figure
Yeah.
this out."
Yeah. Yeah, we've always been like, Gunnar and I are not afraid to work. So that is, I think, the thing that has been a driver, and we have a really strong like belief in anything that we do or put our name on. We want it to be like the best for us. And so I think that that's really never been even almost anything that we put a second thought to, if that makes sense. Like we're always like, if we have to do the work, if we have to be here at 1 a.m, like, okay, we'll do it because it needs to get done. And
Mhm.
that's kind of the attitude that we bring to all of our businesses. But not having, I think, like the mentorship in the business aspect of it, which is huge,
Mm.
which I love now to be able to bring and help other people with, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
what to don't make my mistakes.
For sure. And I
Yeah.
think it's really special that you are kind of taking that energy for your agents. I won't claim to know the workings of any other kind of realty firm, but I would imagine that making time for, I guess we'll say, enrichment of your agents and trying to help them just get a
Yeah.
couple of steps ahead not only benefits them, but it ultimately benefits the firm in general. I wonder, was there a system or something that you put together on the business side of things to be able to kind of train and onboard your agents as they're coming in just so that they are kind of lessening the learning curve?
So we are everything with the real estate has kind of been a step by step. So we do have more of like an onboarding process that we go through. When we first started, it was like we had one agent who came on, so it was a lot of like one-on-one time with me. And then another. So that was very much more like a one-on-one type mentorship, which has been great. Our first agents that we brought on are just wonderful. And so as far as like the onboarding part that we do now, we just had an onboarding in November for new agents. So what that looks like is we do 6 weeks. We do 6 weeks of just like really intense training once a week for a few hours. And I have a whole kind of program that I've created for them. And I think one of the benefits of being a Sea Haven agent is that we talk a lot about probably more unconventional things. Like I'm always trying to explain the business aspect of it, financials, like even to how, everyone thinks like it's just get a listing or just get a buyer, but it's an actual business that you have to run. You're an independent contractor as an agent. So I like to kind of bring more of like a holistic approach, I guess, to real estate so that they can have longevity in their career.
That's so sweet of you. And I think it probably also helps you to have not like less babysitting, but it does take time away from you having to, cross their T's and dot their I's if they weren't really sure of what was supposed to happen because they are only focused on just getting listings and selling. So that's.
I think 100% I agree with what you just said, because a lot of like, you hear a lot of brokers, and I actually kind of like went into it with that mindset because of just all the things that I had heard before that. It took me a little bit to kind of like realize that didn't have to be the case, if that made sense, as far as like, oh, this is like herding cats and we have to babysit, and like you don't want new agents because like you're gonna have to be up at night worrying about what they're doing. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense, because if you're hiring the right people, right? So like I have a very clear criteria of what I look for in a person, and it's not necessarily experience in real estate. It's the type of person that they are. There's just a lot that I look at. And then from there, I'm like, I can teach you real estate, like no problem. I can handle that. But I can't teach people integrity. I can't teach people how to be truthful. So I feel like if you hire correctly and you take your time, like we've had a lot of people come to us and we only have 6 agents with us. So I think there's a lot to be said for like taking your time and building your team and getting the right people. I also think about how new people will fit in with the people that we already have. So it's not like just about me and Gunnar, because they have to work as a team essentially as well. Real estate's a little tough because there's a competitive aspect of it, because you all have your own business, right? Like you essentially are your own business working for a business, but then you have to also be collaborative with the people in your office. So we've been trying to foster really a culture of being collaborative, teamwork, just it's not an uptight environment. Like we want to be able to have fun. We want to be able to laugh. We want to be able to, but also like get stuff done, and
It does seem like you guys are a very tight-knit group, and it seems like there is a lot of that camaraderie there that you would want, at least as a business owner, with your employees and those that you have to be with every day. So that's, I love
and
that
I
you took
trust
the
them.
time.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, I'm
I
sure.
trust them. And I think that's like, I think that's the biggest part is I always say to them, I'm like, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. I'm not the type of person, I will never yell at you. I will never like raise my voice. I will never, it's like, you're going to make a mistake. So just accept it. And I just say, clean it up quickly. Like call me, let me know, and I think that when you have that understanding and there's not like I'm really big on not having any type of fear-based leadership. Like I don't like any of that. It's just so unnecessary. You know what I mean? And I think that actually on the tail end creates more problems, because if you have like fear-based leadership, everyone's not going to, you ever hear that, like there's that thing on, you'll see like the memes, and it's like, you want to be the mom that's like, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble, I want to call my mom. Not like, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble, I can't call my mom. Like, I'm like,
Yes.
I'm the mom that you can call. Like, I
Right.
want you guys to call me if there's a problem. So I think all of that to say, I trust the people that I bring on.
Mm.
I give them a lot of rope, but I also train them and give them, um, we have tons of like templates and guides and all these things where it's like, y'all are smart. You figure, you can do so much yourself. And we
Mm.
have those processes in place for them, but they also know that they can come to me for anything.
That's beautiful. And that rapport, I bet, not only saves you a lot of headache and time, but a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
wonder if, well, let me ask you this. If someone was looking to get into real estate, I feel like it's been a really big interest over the last year. I feel like 12 years ago, there was like a huge influx of a lot of people becoming realtors, and then it cooled down, and we're back in this space again where I think people are finding it to be a really appealing career.
Yeah.
If someone were to come to you and say, I'm interested in doing this, what would be in your mind the things that they already kind of have to have embedded in them to be a successful realtor?
Some of the qualities that I look for, in people who come in, you obviously have to be a self starter. You have to be self motivated to a certain extent. I think that kind of goes without saying. Real estate is not a job where you come in and here's the job to do today, and you do this job and you get a paycheck. So it's not that. So you very much have to come in, and especially if you're coming to us, because we started with nothing. So we're not a Compass or a Keller Williams, or we don't have these lead sources. They're coming in to a very new startup. So I make it super clear that, you know, I will do everything that I can do to create a foundation for you, but they have to be self motivated in the sense that they have to have a drive in them to succeed, and not just waiting for Katie to tell them what to do, because I am not going to tell them what to do. We're going to have trainings. I'm going to put everything out there that I can, but I'm not the type of, that's just not how we do things. I don't call you and tell you what to do. No. I would say the other thing is really knowing and really taking a minute to think about why real estate. Because there's people who are just like, yeah, I like money. It's like, well, there's a lot of ways that you can make money,
Mhm.
And real estate can be very frustrating. You can work for months and lose a deal right before closing. So I would say, really understanding why. Or people will be like, I love houses. I love interior design. And it's like, that's great. I love houses and I love interior design too. But like, do you like people? Like
Yes.
you have to like people. That's Everyone has their different style of how they're going to communicate with people, and how and they're people, but you have to like people.
Mhm.
It's very much a service. Um, it's very much a service driven industry, and
Mhm.
I would say the other thing, you have to have a mindset too, like a forward thinking mindset. That's what I look for in Sea Haven. Like you had kind of touched on that before, of when we opened the brokerage, I was like, this cannot look like any other real estate agency anywhere. And I feel like I accomplished that, because the first year that we were open, people are like, what do you guys do? So it's catching on now. But I want people who think outside of the box, people who are creative. And I guess probably the best example, I was interviewing someone a couple of months ago, young kid, and he's going to be coming on board with us. And one of the questions I asked him, I said, "What, like, why real estate? You could do all these other things. You just graduated college. You have a great degree." And he said, such a great answer. He goes, "I don't, I don't want to have a ceiling on how much I can, how much income I can make, or I don't want to have a ceiling on my business." And I
Mhm.
just thought it was so cool that he looked at real estate as like an avenue to have a business that no one could put a cap on, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. So that
Mhm.
really hit me because I was like, that's why I love real estate. I love real estate for a lot of reasons, but I like the fact that the only ceiling is the ceiling that I put on myself, you know? Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
100%. And that's so
Yeah.
exciting that like he like you just wanted that endless opportunity because you bank on yourself and you know what you're capable of. Like
Mhm.
working for anyone else could put that ceiling in place to where you're like, "Ugh,
And
I'm
I think
bored."
I agree with that. And I think that some of my experience, a lot of my experience has been, which is kind of stinks, but you grew up around here, so I think that you can probably relate, is I find it uncommon to work for people or work with people in business who want to see you do better than they are. And I would say that I can 100% say with complete like honesty that every single person who comes in, I'm like, I want you to succeed. Like that would be the ultimate test of me as a leader, is them, doing better than me, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Like them hitting their goals and them hitting their sales. And so that's what I don't have a lot to offer in the sense that I'm not this business who's been around for 30 years, but I'm offering myself, to you
Yeah.
guys because I really do want to see, I look at them as investments. Obviously, I want to make money and I need to make money. But I also, investing in people is super important to me. So I love that. That's been like a surprising, I think, aspect of starting the brokerage, is how much I enjoy the people who work for me, and like getting to just have those conversations with them of like we talk about the mindset stuff of just
Mhm.
like, I see a ceiling right now that you're putting on yourself. Like, this
Mhm.
does not have to be there. Like, let's think, I think, and we have a bunch of women, on our team. And I love to just be able to to speak that into them. Like, look, you
Mhm.
can make as much money as you want to make,
Mhm.
and it's really just up to you.
Oh, it's so beautiful that you take that extra effort to kind of create the environment it sounds like you didn't really get to have professionally until you made it for yourself, which
Yeah,
is, I feel like the entrepreneur's dream is to create and give what you didn't have just to kind
yeah,
of help people get there quicker, which is such a
100%.
testament to your confidence in yourself as well. It's really cool to provide that, especially we're not shitting on where we're from, but it's
No,
we're a small town that's progresses inch by inch, year by year, and I think it's been really cool to watch all these different kinds of companies that are run by people our age that are kind of
yeah,
flipping the script and making things better for everyone they come in contact with, which was honestly what drew me to just wanting to speak with you. You do really provide a space on the internet where you can tell that you're consciously doing things in a different way with a purpose for good.
hmm,
And whenever you take that route, you know, your hard work will always result in some type of financial success if your heart is in the right place and your talents and your passions are all kind of aligning, which it sounds like it has for you.
I think that you have to, I won't say have to. I would say that the kind of foundation of everything that Gunnar and I do, we want to be giving in some way, if that makes sense, because I think that that's the only way that you can sustain the amount of effort that we put into everything. We have 4 businesses and we have 3 kids, and we got a lot going on. And I think that you
Mhm.
can get burnt out really quickly if you don't have a very clear reason of why you do everything that you do. So we have
Yeah.
very, very clear reasons why. So if I'm getting more, like if I'm in some way getting to another level, in my whatever finances or career or this or that, I look at it as an avenue to do more of what I want to do for other people, if that makes sense. Like we do a
Yeah.
lot. I don't talk about it a lot, but we lived in Central America. We lived in a third world country for a while. We spent a lot of time down there, and like being able to invest a lot like into the kids down there and into a lot of the efforts that other people are making who are on the ground down there. Like that's a really important thing for Gunnar and I to do. We've been foster parents, you know, for quite a few years. Yeah, and just like investing back into your community, I guess.
Yeah.
I love money. Like I love
You're
to
allowed to say it.
make money. Like I'm not going to make any bones about it. Like I had a hard time with that for a long time, being like, what's
Mhm.
wrong with me? Like why do I always want to like be doing the next thing? And then I was like, that's what I was made to do. I know that can sound corny, but like I truly believe that. I believe that I was made to like have businesses and invest in people, but I look at it as an avenue. Um, I look at it as an avenue, I guess, to do good.
Yeah. It's evident. It's really evident. And you can see I've known Gunnar since he was a child. He's always been pleasant, optimistic, hardworking, and it seems like he's found his counterpart in that exact regard. And I wonder, we do have in common the thing of, someone within your family having cancer, and it does really shine a light on what matters and what doesn't. It causes a lot of bullshit to fall to the side that I think typically trips up a lot of people
Yeah.
of no fault of their own. But I think things become very clear when you're kind of faced with the reality of that task in front of you and beating that. And I wonder, did your experience as a mother and going through that time kind of make it a little bit easier for things to roll off your back professionally because you know what matters and where, things are worth freaking out about and not?
Yeah. I, I like how you said it. It's not their fault that other people who haven't had these experiences don't think like that.
Mhm.
So I would say I'm careful in the way that it's taken me a lot of time. I used to be much more vocal about like, kind of not vocal directly, but in my mindset of like, well, I went through this. That seems so inconsequential, I guess, compared to the things that I've been going through. And I had to kind of check myself because I was like, my life is not this person's life. And that might be something in their life that's huge to them. So I think that that's worth recognizing. But I would say for Gunnar and I, our daughter's 15 now, so she's fine. She survived and she's thriving.
Mhm.
She was diagnosed when she was 3, and we were just getting started. Like I think I was 23 when she was diagnosed. So I had her when I was 20. She was diagnosed when I was 23. I had a 9-month-old when she was diagnosed. So here's Gunnar and I like I don't even know what he was doing for employment, at that period of time. And we're sitting there with 2 kids. We just got married, and one of them has cancer. And I, I mean, if stuff's going to come out, it's going to come out there. I mean, I think we've gone through probably every hard thing. I think too, some people can like see Gunnar and I on the internet and think that we have like it's just like so easy all the time. It was not. I think we appreciate each other a lot more at this point because of all of the things that we've gone through up until this point. But I would say that my daughter getting diagnosed with cancer was like the the kick in the pants of my life where I had to it was very traumatic. I will say that it was very very traumatic. I was her primary caregiver, hours and days and days and days like at the hospital. Like we would just be there for weeks and weeks at a time at the drop of a hat. So I have a baby at home, not being able to be with her, having this child who has cancer, all that comes with it. It's just bad.
Yeah.
And I think it's taken a lot of time to kind of get over like the trauma of it, and then in getting over that, being able to be like the I think that's probably what has given us the mindset that we have today of like, look, the only thing worth doing in life is things for really ultimately for other people, right?
Yeah.
Like, meaning not saying like we're monks or something, like, but like having the mindset of like, I'm not an island, I'm not in this by myself. Like, I I'm here to like give to other people. And I think that that's probably what her cancer has definitely really, really taught us, if that, I
Yeah.
think, makes any sense. It's like we want to be doing things for other people. We see the value of life. I think
Yeah.
that's one of the major reasons we got into foster care is like we see the value of life. We see what it's like to go through a hard time. A lot of these parents are just going through such hard times.
Yeah.
And then there's kids involved. So I think it just has given us a little bit of an understanding that a lot of people don't have.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for giving a little bit of insight to someone that may not have had an experience like that. It really does speak a lot to the amount of grace and confidence that you have not only for yourself, but for you and Gunnar and your marriage and how you came through on that end. And I have no doubt that the work that was put in during that time between the two of you is just going to continue to reap such blessings, not only for yourself, but for other people, because it was, I do remember that time in your life, and it was always just so overwhelmingly impressive to me how heavily you guys took on what you were doing. At the same time, my father was very ill. I was young. I'm older than you guys, but it was overwhelming for me, and it wasn't a child, it was my father. And I just kept remembering, man, they're gonna get through this. Like they're so
Yeah.
strong. Everything they're, like you were lockstep, and it seemed very divinely planned that everybody was gonna be okay, and you guys were gonna get through it.
I think we drew a lot of, I can't forget to mention the fact that my daughter is such an incredible person. Like, and this is like a big thing too. When she was going through this, I'm just thankful because I was so young, but I had the wherewithal to be like, I have a choice to make right now where I can either baby her and like coddle her and do everything for her. And I know that can sound a little like, but she went through treatment for 3 years. So those are very like developmental times from 3 to 6. And of course we gave her everything that she needed. But I've always been very much the mother where I'm like, okay, like I understand that you're going through this and I understand that you have cancer and but we're also still not going to have temper tantrums in the middle. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like we very
Yes.
much treated her
Normal.
absolutely normal.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like there were times where she couldn't do certain things, but to the extent that she could, she did every single thing that, she still went and played with her cousins and her friends and did sleepovers at her grandparents' house, like still went out to the store still. And she was feisty. Yeah. And I think that it definitely served her well, but it also was really cool, like for us to watch this person. She's the one suffering,
Yeah.
through it. We're suffering, obviously, watching her, but in a different way. She's the
Yeah.
one who physically suffered for 3 years through this
Yeah.
treatment. And, we talk about it sometimes, but she gets the choice of what story she gets to choose. She gets the story of, I had cancer, I got the shitty end of the stick, I had to go through this, or I had cancer and I beat it. So like what else? What
Yeah.
else can I do? And
Yeah.
that's the same I think for my 3-year-old daughter who we adopted out of foster care. We picked her up when she was 30 days old. She spent 30 days in the hospital. She was born on heroin. The rest is her story to tell, but we very much have always, your story is your story. It's terrible that happened to you, and anything we need to do to work through that, we'll do it. but it's not an excuse, right? Like, she gets to choose the story that she tells. She can choose the story of like, I was, born addicted and I was abandoned and I was this and that, or look at what I overcame and what else can I do from there. So
You're a damn good mom. You're a damn good mom.
I have my moments, but yeah.
But to think about their psyche and how you're
Yeah.
helping it to develop during a time to where, yeah, like nobody would blame you for
Yeah.
babying her. Nobody would blame you for, you know, babying Mimi. She's the cutest little thing ever. Oh my God.
Mimi is the
Dude.
light of our life, so she's definitely spoiled, but babied, I would say, definitely not. But I think that it's definitely the harder road, I would say. I think that there's so many times as a parent where it's easier to just be like, well, I'll do this for you, or I'll do that, but I just my personal, experience has been fostering that in them of like, no, you're capable. Like, you are capable. Yes, bad things are going to happen your entire life. Like, it's just life, and I hope that bad things don't happen. But when they do happen, to have that confidence inside to be like, well, I overcame this, so I can overcome this too, I think is an important trait to have.
100%. And you're teaching them autonomy and to pull their own weight, and they know that no one is coming to save them, although you and Gunnar would be right there in a millisecond. But
Okay.
it's really cool to see the transfer, in essence, of mindset from you and Gunnar to your children. And
Yeah.
I wonder, I know you'd said like, oh, get into real estate, but do you foresee them becoming entrepreneurs? They seem very independent, like they wouldn't want to work for somebody else, but
Finn is an anomaly to me. So Finn's our 13-year-old. She's our technically youngest, but technically middle child. Finn is a riot. She is her dad cloned. As far as Gunnar is a very like creative, like he's a thinker, hilarious, like the funniest person that you'll ever meet. And she's just since birth, she just has marched to the beat of her own drum, and she still does to this day, and she's wonderful. So with her, I have no clue what Finley will end up doing. I don't foresee her sitting at a desk. My oldest daughter has, voiced some interest in like law and things like that, and I'm always like, you should be, you should be a real estate attorney. She's like, what you guys do is so boring. I'm like, that's the 15-year-old answer. And Mimi, we just say she can just live with us forever, and we are, yeah, we just, yeah. She said to me this morning, Mom, I'm not going to be little forever. I was like,
oh, why do you know that? Don't unknow that right now.
you
She's
know.
too small.
No, but
Okay.
I would love, like, I just think there's so many fun, like, to me, it's fun. They're teenagers, so they don't really get it yet. But I would love to be able to, like, collaborate with them. And I mean, I think every parent would, who's an entrepreneur, has their own business, would find a lot of satisfaction and joy in, handing something down, to their kids, or having their kids want to work with them in some way. I think.
I would agree. I see it. I foresee it. I really do. Give them a few more years until they go waitress at the Lobster House for a summer, and they're like, Mom, this is beat. I'm ready.
I know.
I don't want to get yelled at anymore. I'm ready.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that we do too, we give them a lot of freedom, and we don't like, this is what we do, so this is what you should do. I'm like, I mean, do what you're interested in, and we'll support you 100%. You have to work hard, and, we want to see like the effort, but whatever they want to do, we'll support them. But it would be cool.
So good. I can't let you go without discussing your branding. Your branding is so
Yeah.
perfect. Holy
It
moly.
really
Okay.
is, isn't it? No.
No. I low-key want you to toot your horn a little bit here. Marketing and branding are like my bread and butter. I'm obsessed with it. Down here, we're really blessed because I think Congress Hall really did institute a fair amount of aesthetics and people understanding that, like, we pull weight down here. We pull weight. And it is cool to leave things nostalgic and as they were. But to me, it's even cooler to take what we've been given down here and make your own with it. And I feel like you have completely flipped realty on its head with your branding, your social media, your website is stunning. Tell me what went into that whole process. It's got you written all over it, but I am just curious, was this something that you were like, no, this will be like this is how we're sticking out from the crowd?
I would say that as much as I said in the beginning of this conversation that like I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. When it came to the branding and the marketing aspect of it, I had like such a locked in vision, I guess. But that's
Mhm.
also my strong point. Gunnar and I are very visual and very like creative in the sense that we can walk into a space and see what it could be. So I think that the hard part was conveying that, like me getting that out. And I can't sit here and say that I do all of my branding. I work with a team, like the most wonderful team. So Gratiana Prince, the Refined brand. So she does all of my branding. She did the website, and then we work with We Are Vibe House for all of our like videography and photography. So I add that in because I was able to, really get locked in on what I wanted. And then I worked with a team. I spent a lot of money. I invested a ton into it. But I knew enough to know that I had to start on that foundation
Mhm.
because I didn't want to just throw something out there and then when I had the money, make it
Mhm.
what I wanted it to be. I knew that that had to be the foundation. So for me, that was a huge risk was going out the gate and like really making us, look the way that we want it to look.
Mhm.
They're amazing because I was able to have those conversations and I say it all the time like they just get it like when I talk about what I want they're able to like make it happen which
Mhm.
is very very special but what I would say with the branding what I wanted was to I wanted to convey what it's like to be a local here like our perspective of what we see and where we go and I grew up surfing, so that's super important to me. Like, I grew up in a commercial fishing family, so always been on the water. So I really wanted to incorporate that, like the nature of it, but also like kind of this elevated, retro, like nostalgic seaside type thing, but with kind of that like higher end, kind of
Mhm.
vibe. So I do the social media, but we do shoots, a couple of times a year for content.
Cool.
Um, but yeah, it's cool when people, you know, kind of stop you and they're like, "Oh my gosh." They're like, "We see your stuff and it looks so good." And
Mhm.
it's such a compliment because
Mhm.
that was the biggest investment that we made where we were like, "Oh shit." Like I
Mhm.
mean, I think Gunnar even said a couple times he's like, "You spent what on what?" And I'm like, I just know that it'll eventually, kind of. So that I am very, very, very proud of, the image that we put out.
It's stunning. It oozes luxury. It imparts, as you said, nostalgia in a way that for people our age and a little older that are now looking for that beach house, it nails it. It literally, I remember when you just posted your logo, I screamed out loud. I was like, this is fucking beautiful. Like, holy shit, guys, I'm obsessed already. And then the first bit of content that I saw with video, I'm a crier. I cried a tear for you guys. I was like, this is literally going to
Yeah.
set them apart in a way that those coming from the city that want that beach house are used to that level of content. They're used to that level of branding and experience. And there's no questioning now that they are going to get that from you, which to me was like,
And
whatever you spent,
that's
worth
kind of
it.
where we were coming from, and that's really the angle that I was trying to hit. I mean, we got a lot of flack from people that are from here.
Haters.
People who, yeah, which I kind of, I would say probably one of the avenues I'm very naive is that I just don't think like that. So when
No.
we did start to get a lot of that, I was like, wait, what? Like people are
Yeah.
actually even paying attention to what I'm doing. So that was a little weird. But it was definitely like a testament to like, okay, but this is going to pay off. We are
Mhm.
marketing to it. Obviously we work with everyone and we give everyone the same level of, care, but
Mhm.
exactly what you just said. We understand that in other areas, so Cape May, like you said, we take a little bit to catch up in all of these different areas. And I knew that what I was doing was kind of a step above. It needed to be a couple of steps above
Mhm.
in order to speak to people who are used to that level
Mhm.
so that they
Mhm.
would identify with it. So,
It's
yeah.
perfect. I think for me, it took me moving to a city and living there for 20 years to understand that there's levels.
Mhm.
And there's no judgment no matter where you fall on that scale, but
Yeah.
there are those that refuse status quo. And my mantra and thoughts on status quo has always been that it is expected, maybe a little lazy,
Mhm.
not much forethought put into really just making a full blown 100% all hands on deck go at it.
Yeah.
And it did really feel like you ensured your success by differentiating yourself visually in that way. And it not only speaks, I think, to what you were looking to create ambiance wise for the branding, but it almost imparts a bit of it's a luxury service that you're providing by just simply paying attention to the details and not doing everything the way everyone else does. It
I think one of
comes
the
off that way.
Yeah, well, I think one of the biggest compliments that I had this past year was someone that I had worked with. It was a listing that I had. It was someone who just called the office and they were like, we saw, your social media, we saw your website, and we just thought if they put that much effort into, that and it looks that way, then they knew that they were going to get like a high level, of care from us. And
Mhm.
that I think is the thing that I wanted to impart, is, we take that same mindset to our design and our renovations. Like when we do a renovation, it's not just like a flip. We want it to be excellent. We want people to be proud to live there. It's the same thing with the marketing. I want it to be like a visual expression of like, wow, if they're putting that much effort into that, like what kind of care are we going to get from them? And that's really what it is. I want people who we work with to know that we care.
Mhm.
We're not just here. I think that that's, you know, especially in 2023, this real estate agents can have kind of that thing going against them of like, well, you're just in it to make a dollar. Of course, I'm in it to make money, but what we're trying to do at Sea Haven is really convey like we genuinely care and we want to help people get through these different, transactions. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I think I am very proud of the branding. Yeah.
Good, you should be. I think it also, as you said, imparts like how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Mhm.
And it does really give, I would imagine, people that are looking to come purchase a home or a second home or hand over 30K for a rental for the summer, they want to know that they're not just being treated like a run of the mill day. This isn't just another transaction for you. And I'm just so excited to see how everything grows and evolves for you. It's already been such a short period of time, but you guys have literally kicked realty in the face down here and you shook it up in a way that I personally am so excited for. Um, I have a final question that I ask everyone, and I'm so excited to hear your answer. But Kaitlyn, how do you make your life rich?
How do I make my life rich? I would say investing. So investing, but my most favorite investment is investing in people.
Okay.
So obviously I invest, that's like my job, and I'm a real estate investor, and but I would say my most, like, the number one thing that's the most fulfilling in my life is definitely investing in people.
Beautiful. I love that so much. Kaitlyn, thank you so much for your time and sharing all things your life in Sea Haven Realty.
Thank you.
Guys, there'll be links in the show notes for everything. Do not consider looking anywhere else for beach rentals until you have checked out their website, which will be in the show notes. And thank you so much. This was great.
Thank
So
you.
insightful.
Yeah.
Pleasure to talk to you. It's been so long. I'm glad you're not hot and pregnant in 2008 in that 90-degree
Never
weather.
again.
Dude, I had no idea. You looked I remember I remember walking away being like, Gunner made out. She's hot. She's hot.
Hot and
So I had
miserable.
no idea you were preggers. None whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you
Of
for all the
course.
kind words. We really appreciate it.
Of course. It brings me joy that you guys are doing so well. And this is just the
Yeah.
beginning. So I can't wait to see.
Awesome.